This week's episode is kind of a part 2 to last week's, where we made this. What we are going to do now is turn this into a door. Let's see how Fig makes that. We're going to start out by cutting our foam to the width we want our door to be, as well as twice its height. This is going to give us a front and a back, so it'll essentially clip onto the wall of the centerpiece. From here, mark the height of the wall onto the door and cut foam strips so their width matches the distance from the line to the top. The thickness of these strips is going to approximately equal the thickness of the wall, so if you're using thick cardboard or something, make more. I needed 2 to count for 1 thickness of cardboard and 1 thickness of foam strips. 2 was pretty much perfect. Once everything is cut out, just hot glue them together. I added hot glue to the top and smoothed it out with the nib, but you don't need to do this, I just like the effect it gives. Now just draw a design you like onto the door and we can start to cut it out. I can't really draw that well, so my pattern's a little asymmetrical, but largely plain wooden doors don't require this level of detail. If you want to cut out a design you've seen elsewhere and essentially stencil it on, that'll work too, but be careful. This material doesn't really work well with detail that's too fine. Also, be wary of cutting all the way through. You can damage the integrity of the piece, so use a light hand and only cut through the top layer and the foam underneath. Don't go all the way. Once you have everything cut out to your liking, it's time to base coat this. I was making wooden doors, so I base coated them in a terracotta that dries in a nice woody colour. When your base coat is dry, use an X-Acto knife to cut these details back in. The more layers of paint that go on, the more difficult this becomes, so save yourself some time and effort by doing it now. Okay, that's on me. I set up everything and forgot to press record. I painted the door with pearlescent green and now I'm using a piece of card in the groove here to stay inside the line while I put on a coat of gold. To this one, to the one below it, and the corresponding ones on the far side. Next is a rose gold on the middlemost band. You might recognize that from the spider I did in it. Following this was a bronze on the bottom one. This turned out to be the trickiest because it crossed over the gold ones a few times, it touches up against the wood, and one of the tips didn't quite cut out cleanly, so I had to draw it in here. Last, but of course not least, I painted the final bands in silver. This was largely to add a lighter colour to the piece, which I was afraid was getting a bit too dark at this point. Once it was dry, I touched up where necessary and it was ready to go to the table. So here's the final piece, a modular door which you can slip onto any centerpiece to add a little more interest and depth to the room.
So thanks for watching. If you enjoyed what you saw here today, leave a like. If you'd like to see me build something specific in the future, leave a comment down below. And subscribe to see what Fig makes next.